Hi, good friends. So I'm here today to talk about something kind of sad. I DNF'd a book. Something I don't do very often because I'm so American that if I buy something, I feel like I have to use all of it. But what I DNF'd was this. That's right. It has been getting so many great reviews, and I thought it was terrible. Um, yeah, so it was on Kindle Unlimited, and which is basically kind of like a library. So I didn't like hate myself for DNFing it. I got 25% of the way through, and I'm gonna tell you why I stopped reading. Um, just the language, the prose. It was so. I mean, I know that the author is not a native English speaker, and I do speak a second language. I speak Spanish. Had I tried to write in Spanish, I think I probably have similar problems. But what's funny is what I'm about to say. I've only heard two other people say it, and neither one of those are native English speakers. But the word choices did not fit the world, and it was so distracting. I just couldn't get by it. The author used a lot of sayings. He would say things like opening a can of worms. Now, and this is like a medieval environment, and there was a lot of stuff that made me think that either one, the world building, I had missed something, which is something in itself. I'm a very close reader, I'm an English teacher, or he doesn't know a lot about island living. A lot of times the weapons were described, they had like medieval swords and scimitars. It felt very desert-y, yet this is a tropical island. I would think machetes would fit better. And his characters. I liked Jesper, the main character. I liked him well enough. I've heard this book deals with mental illness. I wasn't getting a lot of mental illness from Jesper, whatever. Um, he was very flawed, which I did like. He was a very good, very flawed protagonist. Very human feeling, which I did like. I liked him a lot, and they were like trying to solve this illness that was eating away the eyes of the king, and there was this great dream going on, which I've heard is supposed to reflect the American dream. So maybe this is his critique on the American dream, which personally, the American dream, coming from an American, total lie. American dream is a total lie. But when the characters would talk about things like wage gaps or rich versus poor and how they live and how we should treat the poor people, it didn't sound dialogue-ish. It sounded like a really civilized Facebook conversation. Like they were so respectful of each other. They weren't getting like hyped up. It all just felt really formal, and like the dialogue, it just wasn't the way people talk. It was too formal. It was too collected, and dialogue is very, very hard to write if you're not like a natural at it. But I'm trying so hard to get into fantasy, and books like this don't help. And I'm trying so hard to give self-publishing a chance. And books like this make it worse. I've heard people talk about the production value and especially the cover, about how it's beautiful. I would not call that beautiful. I mean, it's okay, but compared to, I don't know, I guess I'm a minimalist when it comes to covers, because out of all the books I have, this is my favorite cover. I'm not sure where the story was trying to go. Like, he was, like, I know there's the saying of when your mind's biggest enemy, where do you run? I just don't know where the author, Nicolas Lietzau, was just going with this. Like, they went on a quest, him and his love interest, and I will say there is a sex scene that was written well. Sex was not cringy in this book, which, thank God. I mean, I like cringy sex as much as the next girl, because positives is he writes good characters, and he's not cringy in the sex, so that's the two positives I got. They just, I read 22% of it. I went in and marked and highlighted every single um, just out of place modern day saying that would not be said in this medieval setting. And I think I had like 55 out of 120 pages. That's almost one every 2 pages. So that's just how ingrained it was. If it was a couple of slip ups here and there, I'd be more understanding. But I just think a better deal for him would have been to write this book in German, because I think he's a native German speaker, either traditionally publish and let the publisher deal with everything, or hire a translator to sell to English speaking, like North American audiences, because the English was very North American. It felt very kind of the way Americans talk. I mean, Canadians too, I guess they talk like us. There wasn't any A, so it wasn't like, oh, we're getting on a boat, A. So no, it was very American, but I don't know what accents they were supposed to speak in. But he did a good job with dialogue, as like you could tell who was more educated and who wasn't educated. And there was actually talk about Jesper like taking on and dropping his accent, which is fine. But when it came, the just big breaker was was the scene where they're Jesper and I can't even remember her name, his love interest. They're talking about rich and poor as they were either like on a boat or they were walking around, and it just didn't sound like the way people talk. It was so robotic. It was very, okay, well, take this into account, or yes, of course, I 100% see your point, Jesper, but this is my opinion. It was very, it's like when you were like when you're having a conversation on Discord or on Facebook about a really tough subject and you're really emotional about it, but you're trying to be respectful, or you are being respectful. It's like you understand what the person's saying, but it's like, come on, use your brain type conversation. Like, you guys ever have those conversations with people? I know I do, but it just didn't feel natural. Was that because Nicolas Lietzau, I'm having to glance at his name, is not a native English speaker? Maybe, but I can't see people in the world he's created saying, let's not open a can of worms, or oh, look at the whistleblower, or I mean, let me see if I can go back and find my notes. Just here's the opening line, which is really odd. Alongside poverty, war, and bad wine, Jesper had always considered low ceiling beams over beds one of humanity's worst inventions. I don't know if that bathos is intentional or if it's just bad writing. I don't know. No. But he also, something that I could have seen being the problem is that he uses a word of his English speaking problem. He used a word motif, which refers to like a recurring image, when I don't think that that's what he meant. I think he got that word mixed up with something like tableau, so I could tell he was trying, like he was writing his best English that he could, but it just wasn't working out for you, dude. Laughing, Naka had given him the finger. Like, that's just a saying that I don't think people would say, and biracial. He uses the word biracial, which is not something that you'd see. Like, they would have said something far worse, or I don't, they just would have had a different term for it. When biracial, the archipelago's up for sale after all the shit that had happened, the latest news, mass murderer. Like, I don't think that was in the lexicon in the Middle Ages, because it was really hard to massively murder people back then. Now that we have guns, it's a lot easier. No sweat. Got high on. So it's just itching to try out some of something. Short story collection. Did they write short story collections in like this medieval English setting? No. So when it comes to where it's one every 2 pages, it's just unreadable. To me, this book was unreadable, and I really, really liked Jesper a whole lot. And I just think And one, either in the hands of a more capable writer, or had he written this in German and hired a translator, this could have been great. But the prose was so distracting that I couldn't get through it. You can call me a prose snob, which maybe I am, but that is just basic English language. So that's my review. Prose too hard to look past. So I'm going to keep trying with fantasy. I'm going to keep trying with self-publishing. I'm going to try. I tried. I made it a quarter of the way through, okay? Like that I gave it the college try. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's my review and the reason I DNF'd Dreams of the Dying. So, keep reading, keep writing, keep loving words, and I will see you next time.